Great. So thank you everyone for joining this webinar on AI-powered document data extraction. I'm Charles Breck, co-founder and CEO of TextMine, and I'm joined today by Amber, my co-founder Amber, and our marketing exec Tanner. Uh, Purpose of this webinar is to sort of give a brief introduction to AI and its applications to document data extraction, and then we will walk you through some practical use cases. So the first part of this webinar is a presentation, and then the second part is the practical demonstration of document AI, document data extraction powered by AI. There is a Q&A channel, so feel free to post questions in that channel at any time. And we've got a time at the end for questions where we'll go through them. And this session is also being recorded. So post-webinar, you'll be able to access the recording and play it on demand. So without further ado, I will share my screen and start the webinar. So just to share a bit of background again for today's agenda. So this is a brief presentation to introduce TextMine and why we are interested in document data extraction. There's a very high-level introduction to AI for those who are sort of curious to understand how it works. We then sort of touch on how document data is typically processed and extracted, how that looks like with AI, and then we'll touch on some use cases before going into the practical demonstration. And then we've got time at the end for questions. So very quick background about TextMine. So founded by myself and Amber. I've got a background in engineering. Amber has a background in legal. And we were both very much frustrated with how data in documents were extracted and managed in businesses. And so essentially 4 years ago, we started the business to empower organizations to easily create documents, but more importantly, track the data they contain. And this is both for new documents and legacy documents that might be collecting dust within the business. So to provide a very high level overview of AI, essentially AI is the field of which aims to teach intelligence or human intelligence to computers. There are many, many branches of AI, but the main branches which are relevant to today's session are machine learning and generative AI. Machine learning has been around for a bit longer than generative AI, meaning 20, 30 years. And it's all about inducing patterns from data. The two main types of machine learning algorithms are supervised, where the target is known, and unsupervised, where the target is not known. So typically in a unsupervised learning setup, you're looking to sort of cluster the data based on similar properties, and the algorithm will try to identify similar properties. So for example, if you had a customer base, the algorithm would, based on the number of clusters you're asking it to look for, it will group the types of customers based on spend or profession, etc. And in a supervised setting, you're looking to sort of predict the relation between an output and an input. And again, in a customer setting, you might have customer data with various properties, and then an output that is relevant to your business. So it might be spend, and the machine learning algorithm will learn the relation between the input and the output, so that as a business you can make better forecasting decisions, for example. But in the machine learning setting, models are effectively inducing patterns from data, which means that if your data is biased or is not representative of the real world, then your models will not be able to generalize, or they will not be accurate in the real world setting. Generative AI is a little bit different in the sense that it's not necessarily trying to understand the relationship between an input and an output, but it's interested in generating content from an input. So there's, again, many different types of generative models. Large language models are the branch of generative AI focused on processing text, and that's sort of what we're focused on today. And effectively, a generative model will predict a sequence of words from an input, and then rank those sequences based on likelihood of it being correct, and then it will provide the most the highest probability sequence as the output. So, for example, in this case, if we wanted to ask the large language model, what is the topic of today's presentation? The input might be a brief introduction to, and then it would predict AI as the highest probability. But because it's effectively looking to predict multiple sequences of text, that's one reason why large language models can be quite slow. But the great thing about large language models is they are able to understand and learn from text with enough training data and enough fine tuning. So this was a very brief introduction to AI. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A. So going back to today's topic, which is around document data extraction, and maybe why we'd be interested in using AI. Well, the current process for extracting data from documents is very manual. Typically, a document manager or data administrator might receive the documents. They will then need to go through the document, search for the relevant sections containing the data, and then key in that data in a spreadsheet or a third-party system. And then there will be some element of reviewing the data to ensure it is correct. But overall, it's a very time-consuming process, and also error-prone. Anything which is manual is prone to errors, and it's a huge productivity sink for the business users who have to do this work. The other issue is that there's only so much that you can track because it is so manual. And the tracking typically will happen in siloed spreadsheets across teams, which means that there's no central or standardized repository of this data, which then means that the data can't really be relied on by the business for critical decisions. And when it does come to querying this data, there's no real way of querying that data in a seamless way, or linking the data between the documents. So in terms of where AI would fit, in terms of extracting data from documents, it would effectively take care of steps 2 and 3 of a typical manual document data extraction process. So the AI piece can help read and understand documents, and then help with the extraction and automation of data entry. The great thing about AI is AI improves with data and examples, meaning that an AI system will be able to improve and in both in terms of accuracy, but also quality of the data points that are extracted, which means that the process of checking the data becomes less and less of a time sink for the business. In terms of the benefits of extracting document data with AI, there are many. First of all, the business users who are doing the manual data extraction get their time back, and it can be refocused on higher value tasks. But from a business perspective, you're able to track a broader range of data points and answer ad hoc queries that might be relevant based on new business priorities. For example, at the moment, we're helping a lot of organizations keep track of ESG clauses in their supply agreements. And with the EU AI Act, which has come out, there's interest in identifying, again, suppliers that might be exposed to the EU AI Act. And with AI, these are questions that you can answer quite quickly, and there's no manual effort. Whereas if you were doing everything manually, you wouldn't be able to respond to these types of ad hoc queries as fast. And then finally, by having all your document data in a single repository, you're able to increase visibility and effectively provide a foundational database of document data that your business can rely on for decisions and reporting purposes. So in terms of the use cases, again, documents are sort of the backbone of every single business, which means that there's really a broad range of use cases. But where we've seen the most traction have been in procurement, with preventing unwanted renewals, but also determining the impact of wanted renewals on your budgets, because supply agreements have their own subscription increase rates based on inflation, based on different indexes, etc. And it's quite hard to track at the scale of a business. Using AI document data extraction, you can also better enforce your supplier SLAs, because one of the biggest challenges is actually knowing how they work and what your rights are in terms of enforcing penalties or obtaining discounts when SLAs are not met. And then another emerging use cases around customer onboarding. So whether that's for KYC purposes or internal purposes, if ever your customers are completing documents or providing documents for review, AI can help with a lot of the checks that your internal teams might be going through to onboard these customers. And then finally, as I said earlier, you can respond to sort of ad hoc queries, whether that's ESG related or other piece of legislation, whether that's GDPR or the EU AI Act. So next step of this webinar is to walk you through the actual process of extracting data and answering questions about contracts with LLMs. So for this demonstration, we'll be using TextMine's platform. So just to give a bit of context, the TextMine platform is an end-to-end platform for creating and managing documents, whether these documents have been created on the platform or imported onto the platform. Today's demo will mainly focus on Vault, which is our very own self-hosted large language model that we fine-tuned to understand business critical documents. And then once the data is extracted from Vault, you can then manage that data in Legislate. So the first step of the process for extracting data from your documents using AI is to connect your documents to the platform. This can be done via the main file storage systems, as well as ERP and CRMs, or you can do a simple drag and drop of files which might be sitting on your desktop. And when you import the files into the system, the model is doing two things. It's first identifying the type of document that's been provided based on its substance. So for example, is this an invoice? Is this a supply agreement? Is this a master service agreement? And then once it's detected the type of document that's been provided, it will extract the relevant fields based on that document type. So for example, if it's an employment contract, it will pick out the job title. If it's an invoice, it will pick out fees, etc. And so as the model does this classification and checks, it will then sort of provide the type and the field. So for example, here we can see we've got an invoice. You can see the client who pays the invoice, the currency, the end date, the supplier, payment frequency, etc. So all these fields or tags are sort of generated automatically by the model. And then if we go back and scroll down, so here, for example, we can see that the model's finished processing these documents. We can see, for example, an NDA. So the model is, on the one hand, able to answer questions like the agreement date, but it's also able to answer yes/no type questions, which might be relevant to the business. So, for example, do any clauses survive termination? Yes, no. The governing law, how long does the recipient have to destroy confidential information? So that the model is able to sort of extract all this information. And if ever you wanted to quickly cross-reference the data, all you need to do is click on one of the tags and it will take you to the relevant section of the document. And so you can review this information and quickly verify that it's correct. If we jump to another document type, for example, so for example, here we've got a recruitment terms of business. Again, the model is able to answer a broad range of questions um, and and effectively provide all that business critical information that you might need when managing your contracts. So this initial step that I've just shown you is essentially the process for extracting data from your documents. This step can be used to sort of provide, um, you know, certainty in the model's predictions, and you can verify them, accept them, and reject them. Once you've done this process of validating the imported data, you can then push it to legislate. And once this document data is in legislate, you can obviously double click on the documents one by one to see what they correspond to. But more importantly, you can actually navigate through that data using our advanced search capabilities. And so with these filters that you can see here, effectively all the data is directly coming from the documents that have been imported. So we can filter NDAs even further by confidentiality term. So we can say, yep, we want to see all the NDAs with a 3-year confidentiality term. So it's on the one hand updated the list of NDAs behind us, but it's also updated the filters. And then we could say, yep, I want to see all the NDAs with a 3-year confidentiality term governed under English law. And it's narrowed that down even further. And then if ever we wanted to report on that data to the rest of the stakeholders in the business, or we can then export a CSV, and that CSV then contains rows where each row corresponds to a document, and then we have the data that's been extracted, as well as the party information. So this really automates the manual data entry using AI. And the great thing is that because it's AI driven, we can you can sort of be quite flexible with what it is you're looking to track. So yeah, that was a very brief introduction to document data extraction with AI via the TextMine platform. I can see that we've already got a question in the chat, so I will answer it. So the question is from JP, are the questions automatically generated by the platform based on the document type? Yes, that is correct. So the platform basically has a database of document types and relevant questions, but users have the ability to provide their own questions as well that can be connected to a document type. Our questions based on the document type are quite broad. So we do generally cover 99% of what a user would typically want to know about a document, but users can also specify their own questions. Great. And I guess in terms of rest of the platform, there's additional functionality, but as today's presentation is focused on document data extraction, I will leave it there. So yeah, and let me go to the right. So I guess that was the demo of document data extraction. If anybody has any questions about the process, please feel free to post them in the Q&A channel. if there are no more questions, then thank you everyone for joining this webinar. Oh, sorry. One question from Matthew. Is there a limit on the number of documents it can work on at one time? No, there's no limit. The model is scalable, so it can cope with any workload or volume of documents. Other questions that we get typically asked. So one question is, do we use ChatGPT or or OpenAI or any API to provide the data extraction? So the answer is no. We're using open source models that we are self-hosting, and essentially that's how we can sort of guarantee superior performance compared to those API providers, but also greater control and security over your actual documents. On the security front, we are ISO 27001 certified. In terms of hosting, the system is hosted on AWS UK for UK clients and AWS US for North American clients. Um, and um, and in terms of deployment, we can also deploy on private clouds. So to answer the question about pictures of documents, so we can work with scanned documents, and effectively we leverage OCR to extract the text, and then the model works with the text. In terms of question from anonymous attendee, how is the model trained? So effectively, we've built a proprietary database of uh, contracts and business critical documents like invoices, SOWs, purchase orders, and we fine tune the model on those documents to answer specific questions related to those documents. Right. Any other questions? Right. Well, thank you everybody for attending today's webinar. If you have any follow-on questions, feel free to contact me directly. I'm posting my email in the chat. Happy to do a more tailored session and discuss your specific use cases. But if not, thank you very much for joining, and wish you a wonderful week.